Congressman Richie Torres is a Democrat of New York who filed an ethics complaint against Santos back in January. David Plouffe is a former campaign manager for Barack Obama's 2008 presidential campaign and a former senior advisor to President Obama. Both join me now. Congressman, I will start with you as someone who filed that complaint. What do you make of the divide between your colleagues in the Republican Party, those closest to George Santos and closest to facing re-election with voters who are maybe not super psyched about him, and leadership that just seems like, well, we're going to let this play out?
Well, ultimately, the story of George Santos is about Kevin McCarthy. The worst kept secret in Washington, D.C. is that Kevin McCarthy needs George Santos more than George Santos needs Kevin McCarthy. After all, George Santos was the decisive vote in the bill to default on America, and he's an albatross around the neck of the Republican Party. He's been more prolific as a lawbreaker than a lawmaker, and he should be in jail rather than in Congress. But for me, George Santos is not an accident. He is a consequence of a party whose standard bearer is Donald Trump, who was found liable for sexual assault. And my message to the Republicans is you reap what you sow.
They don't think, David Plouffe, like, I don't understand why no one, again, I get all, I've covered this for now, 8 years. But so I get all the arguments inside the party and the polling. But, like, Chris Christie around the edges, some people, anonymous DeSantis donors, but it's like, the same problem Santos creates for Mike Lawler in his district in New York, where he needs to win a district held by Joe Biden to Republicans in the whole House, is a problem created by Donald Trump at the top of the ticket. And for some reason, this obvious point seems utterly absent in Republican public discussion.
Right, Chris, it's not like this is a winning team that's been on a roll. Let's remember, Donald Trump got under 47% of the vote twice. They lost badly in 2018, underperformed in 2022 across the country. So I do think the Santos issue, my guess, is not going to drive vote in Wisconsin or Arizona in the presidential race, but it could determine the future of the House, given all those Republicans who won narrowly in 22 and the eastern part of the state primarily. But I do think that what's fascinating around Trump is, the people who are trying to beat him, you're not going to defeat Donald Trump if you're afraid to say, maybe our nominee, who, by the way, was a disaster politically in terms of the numbers, now has been indicted for sexual assault. It's unbelievable to me. That's what's interesting here. And this, again, they live in their own perverted world where Fox and Breitbart and these things are reality, and the Sinclair stations and talk radio. And what's happening in the rest. So you just showed something, by the way, remarkably low. So that means 32% of Republicans right now saying his conviction bothers them.
Yes.
60% of the country saying so again, this is not a guy sitting here with pocket aces politically, and yet he's treated like that. That is the amazing thing about this. Is listen, maybe the economy gets so weak that Trump can somehow get to 270 electoral votes. But, this is right now, you'd have to say Donald Trump looks like the weakest Republican general election candidate of everybody who's either running or thinking about running.
Yeah, I would just, a slight correction, he was found liable for sexual abuse, not indicted. It was a civil proceeding and not a criminal one. I just want to make sure viewers know that.
There's so many of them going on, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, it is understandable because there are many different places. But there's also this, it's fascinating to watch Santos do a mini Trump, Congressman Torres. So today he tweets out, in all caps, witch hunt. And to me that's so perfect because it sums up the whole thing. Like, it's obviously this is all preposterous, all the witch hunt stuff. Like, when you read witch hunt, do you think, Congressman Torres, that convinces anyone? Is there anyone who's like, yes, they're going after you because you're like, I don't know, you're too critical of the Chinese or whatever fakakta theory he came up with today?
Or if Donald Trump were Latino and gay, he probably would be George Santos. I mean, George Santos is following the tried and tested Donald Trump playbook of playing the victim. And we're witnessing a Republican Party that is rotting from within in real time, that has lost grip on reality. And the lesson learned from the 2022 midterms is that the American people are allergic to Trumpism, or allergic to right-wing extremism. And instead of moderating the Republican Party is doubling down on Trumpism, and they're going to pay a heavy price in 2024.
Again, David, the thing I keep coming back to is like this stuff is all on the margins in American politics, right? Like you're the major party nominee. You start with 42, 43% of the vote, probably. It doesn't matter who it was, you know. Any of you, me, so you know. My stage manager here, who I love dearly, great guy, but for president. But like, you put anyone on that ballot, they start at 42, 43, right? There's a ton of districts that are decided they're not even going to be competitive. Everything's at the margins. So when you look at the margins and you're a political party, the margins matter. And you're going to go with this guy who kills you at the margins. It is so sort of, it remains astounding to me.
Well, it's a mixture of political malpractice, Chris, cowardice. Congressman Torres mentioned it's rotten because most people who've run for office and won office know a little something about politics and math. And so Trump lost in 20. Republicans underperformed almost historically in 22. There's a real threat they're going to give up control of the House in 24. We have presidential race. So let's look at Trump and Santos. Is anybody who was a swing voter now going to say, you know what, now that Trump has been convicted of sexual assault, I'll vote for him? And I would even argue, you can make an argument it's going to help on turnout. Okay? Yeah. So it is perplexing that they're basically looking at a wall and they insist on running repeatedly into it with this same flawed standard bearer.
Congressman Richie Torres, who also represents part of New York State, David Plouffe. Thank you, gentlemen, both. I appreciate it.